To the latest on the war in Ukraine and Vladimir Putin under pressure as protests break out across Russia. More than 1,000 arrested after Putin's order to call up more troops. Our chief global affairs correspondent, Martha Raddatz, has more for us this morning. Good morning, Martha.
Good morning, Michael. This morning, President Putin making clear he will not back down in Ukraine despite significant setbacks, not only reminding the world that Russia has nuclear weapons, but calling up hundreds of thousands of men to join the war effort, a move that prompted widespread protests. This morning, more than 1,000 Russian protesters detained by Russian police after taking to the streets. Young men chanting, "I don't want to die for Putin." Mothers screaming, "Send Putin to the trenches, let our children live." This after President Putin suddenly announcing he would call up 300,000 men for military service after his massive losses in Ukraine. Putin called the move necessary and urgent, causing not only protests but panic. Within hours of the speech, citizens flooding the airports, with nearly all international flights out of Russia sold out. President Biden at the UN launching a blistering condemnation of Putin.
President Putin has made overt nuclear threats against Europe. Now, Russia's calling up more soldiers to join the fight. And the Kremlin is organizing a sham referenda to try to annex parts of Ukraine. This world should see these outrageous acts for what they are.
Biden saying the world's blood should run cold over the invasion of Ukraine. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky in a pre-recorded speech to the UN calling for more military and humanitarian aid.
A crime has been committed against Ukraine, and we demand just punishment. The crime was committed against the values that make you and me a community of the United Nations. And Ukraine demands punishment for trying to steal our territory.
This comes as the battle on the ground continues to rage, with Russia vowing it will regain lost territory. ABC's Tom Sufi-Burridge is in Kharkiv in Ukraine's northeast.
We heard loud explosions here in central Kharkiv overnight, not far from here. As you can see, Russia is wrecking this city. But we're also hearing a lot of outgoing fire from the Ukrainians. Ukraine now trying to push east into the Donbass. Ukrainian forces trying to capitalize on their momentum before the weather turns, the ground softens, and any offensive becomes much harder.
But amidst the carnage and Putin's alarming escalation, some good news. 2 Americans, Andy Huynh and Alex Drueke, have been freed. The 2 men who joined the fight in Ukraine had been held as prisoners of war by the Russians for more than 3 months, along with 8 other foreign prisoners. They were part of a prisoner exchange mediated by the Saudi crown prince. Druke's mother already in touch with her son.
Alex said that he was in good spirits. He sounded good and strong, and it was just wonderful.
Both Americans are expected to be home soon, but Ukraine's war with Russia is far from over. Michael?
And without a doubt, Martha, thank you. And for more, let's bring in our contributor, former Defense and State Department official Steve Gagnier. Steve, thank you for joining us this morning. And what do you make of these protests across Russia? What do they tell you about Putin's move to mobilize more troops?
Yeah, Michael, up until now, the war in Ukraine has not affected the individual Russian citizen. It's been the Russian military goes to war and the Russian citizen goes to the mall. But this changes everything. Putin is asking a lot of the individual Russian person. Think about what the Vietnam War did to the social fabric in the U.S. when young men were asked to go fight for a war that they didn't believe in. That may be what we're seeing here in Russia. We'll need to watch it in the days and weeks to come to see how it affects not only support for the war, but for support for Putin personally.
Yeah, that's a pretty good comparison there. And he's calling up hundreds of thousands of more men, but you say it's unclear what kind of difference it will make.
Yeah, Michael, these are going to be, at best, conscripts, people who have served in the past, have had no follow-on training, but it's probably going to be just pulling people, any able-bodied military-age man off the street who can fog a mirror. And so don't expect any better performance out of a Russian military that has systemic flaws and has deep corruption. So I think in a lot of ways these troops are just going to be cannon fodder that Putin may be able to use sometime in the early spring.
Steve Gagnon, thank you as always.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.